Well, good afternoon and welcome to this Thursday Thought. Well, I thought today that I'd just do a sort of potpourri of random stuff that's been on my mind recently. I haven't done this in a while for Thursday Thought, and it seemed like a good time to get some of this out of my brain and at least onto video. When driving on any kind of a freeway, there are always a few people, it seems, who insist on tailgating within just a few feet, and I do mean a few feet, of the car ahead of them. It seems to me that this method of driving only causes more anxiety and stress, but doesn't do a lot to get them any further down the road. I would think that having a good distance between you and the car in front of you would lessen the stress level and result in a better overall driving experience. But who knows? Also, when on a freeway, there are always some who insist on going at least 20 miles an hour faster than everyone else. They weave in and out of lanes, they create stressful situations for other drivers, and they seem to think that driving the freeway is some kind of a game where if they win, they get some kind of a prize. Well, I have yet to see any kind of a prize given to anyone for doing this kind of driving, except for the occasional traffic citation, higher insurance rates, to say nothing of higher costs for fuel and maintenance, which they don't seem to me to be any kinds of prizes that I would want. Oh, and speaking of driving, why is it that when a couple is on a motorcycle, the man is always driving? Is there something wimpy about a man riding shotgun with a woman at the helm? Is it a macho type thing of something or something like that? Do men who own motorcycles have to drive in order to prove their manhood? How'd that come about anyway? Well, we have, over the years, recent years anyway, been able to take trips and vacations on a rather regular basis. We've chosen to stay in motels that are associated with an international chain that's known for good service and cleanliness. But we found, however, that those cleanliness and service standards are somewhat fluid, even within the corporate chain. And we've also found that we can know exactly what the free breakfast consists of, as all of this chain's motels and hotels, it seems, offer the exact same thing, even though the hotels are independently owned. I have to wonder just how those places are really independent if the breakfasts are all the same. Well, I recently looked up my list of blocked phone numbers on my cell phone. I was surprised that there were so many of them. And even with the great number of blocked numbers on my list, I still receive calls from, I presume anyway, people I don't know and don't want to know. I say presume because I don't even answer those calls from numbers that I'm not familiar with or aren't in my phone book, so I don't really know who's calling. Phone numbers are becoming as much of an identifier as a Social Security number anymore, it seems. To change one's number often requires a lot of changing in the personal information sections of many contacts, businesses, and institutions that one deals with. Who knew some years ago that it would all come down to this? Oh, and speaking of phones, how long ago was it that someone would have given their right arms just to have a phone in their car? I can well remember being on the road a lot for a job that I had in western Kansas some years ago, knowing where all the payphones were in all the little towns out there. I also well remember having a telephone credit card number that I could use to charge a call to my home phone and thereby not have to put endless quarters into the payphone just to pay for the long distance call. I often wished that I could just call someone from my car and not have to stop at a payphone or borrow a client's phone. Now the world is on my hip, although, well, I'm not so sure that I'm all the better for it being that way. And an end note to this. This week is the last week for a longtime member of our church staff. Eric has been our worship leader here at Riverwalk and children's minister since his earliest days, and he's been on staff for more years than I can count. He's retiring this Sunday, and they'll be moving to the Eastern Seaboard in their retirement. We wish them well. We know that the hole that they leave in our Riverwalk family will never quite fill in completely. We've known of their impending retirement and move for several years, but that doesn't make this week any less difficult. Thank you, Eric and Melanie, and blessings.